Ollie got a call from his friend Will. I said, Ollie, dude, you gotta come check this out, man. I said, what's going on? I said, Ollie, you know that big field kind of out behind your building? I said, yeah. That there's like a ghost unicorn person rider out in the field, man. I said, what are you talking about? I'm not explaining clearly. There's in the field, out kind of behind your apartment building, there is a ghost unicorn being ridden by a ghost rider. And they're just like wandering around out there in the field. Seemed like a kind of thing, man. Plus it's right behind your house. Or, building. I said, yeah, all right. Shh. So Ollie went to the roof first to see what he could see. He looked over at the field, and there, he could see there was kind of this blue, horsey-looking figure wandering around the field. It wasn't going fast. It wasn't doing anything. You could see that there were some people, several people, looking at it. The area that it was in is fenced off, so you can't just go and wander around in there. You can't really get to it unless you want to hop the fence, and people weren't. So they were just watching, and it was, well, I couldn't really see it very well from where he was, so he decided to go on down. This was about 10 o'clock at night. So I went out of his apartment building and went around to the fence. He called his friend Will and said, Will, I'm coming out. Where are you? I said, oh, yeah, man, I'm over on the 33rd Street side. So I walked over and found Will. I said, yeah, man, so look, check it out. It's coming kind of a little bit this way. I looked, and it was, from all appearances, exactly as Will described. It was this blue kind of translucent figure of a unicorn. And riding the unicorn was a lady, not in like a cowgirl uniform, but more like in a warrior's uniform. All very elaborate. And the horse, the unicorn and rider didn't rush. The unicorn would stop and munch on the grass. The rider would look around. Never really seemed to be looking at any person in particular. They wouldn't get very close to any of the people. It's almost like they were there, I don't know, standing guard. It's all very strange. Ollie and the crowd stayed for a while. People tried yelling to the ghost, but the ghost didn't respond. Well, I thought about hopping the fence, but he didn't like to just randomly break the law. I mean, there wasn't anything illegal about being a ghost unicorn rider. And, Ollie's not a cop anyway. So the crowd just watched for a while. This strange, strange apparition. And after, I don't know, about 45 minutes to an hour after Ollie got there, the two just vanished. Like dissolved into smoke and disappeared. Ollie waited for a while longer to see if the ghost would reappear, but it didn't. And gradually everyone wandered away, wondering, what was that? What was that strange thing? And Ollie could make neither hide nor hair of it, and neither could Will. It's weird stuff, man. It's like, you've done ghosts before, right, man? I said, yeah, I've run into a ghost or two. But this one looks, I don't know, different. They're not usually, I mean, I can't really say what they usually are. I've only seen a couple. But I don't know. I don't know enough about it to be an expert. It's pretty weird. So, well, like when you tangled with ghosts before, what did they like want? Why were they there? I said, well, that's the thing. In both of the cases where I'm really pretty sure I was dealing with a real ghost, they were both there for some real specific reason. They weren't just wandering around. They had something they were trying to accomplish, some unfinished business or some mission from beyond the grave. And that this unicorn and rider didn't seem like they had much to do at all. I said, yeah, man, I don't know. What I guess we'll just have to see if it comes back. Will you call me if it does? I said, sure. If I notice it, I'll let you know. At this point, Ollie's curiosity was piqued. So he brought a camera up onto the roof and pointed it down at the field. And he set it to broadcast, and he set up a little system where it would beep at him if, a mysterious blue light appeared. But there were no beeps during the night, and I was pretty sure you wouldn't be able to see it during the day. Maybe it was there during the day. I wasn't sure. But that night, the next night, it was back. So Ollie called Will up and said, Will, it's back. This was around 9:45 again. I said, oh, groovy, man. Yeah, I'm just down the block. I'll be right there. So Ollie and Will met up, and they looked at the ghost again, and it looked the same as last night, as the night before. And did kind of the same thing, except this time, the crowd was bigger. In fact, I thought this was twice as many people here as there were last night. And again, the ghost wandered around for, about an hour, then vanished into a puff of blue smoke. This happened 2 more nights. By the 4th night, this big crowd, everybody was focused, looking in. Oh, I thought it was just a matter of time before somebody hopped the fence. Because, it was a big crowd. Everyone wanted to see this ghost, the ghost unicorn rider. Well, I was there, too. And he was thinking about if it was time for him to hop over. And you hear what sounded like broken glass, but not over by where the ghost was. Back behind him. He turned around and looked, and he didn't see anything. Everything looked normal. There wasn't really anybody over on that side of the street. Everybody was over on this side of the street, trying to get a good look at this ghost. People had phones out and were taking video, and more people were showing up all the time. I could have sworn he'd heard broken glass. He thought he heard some other noises, too. It's hard to tell, though, because there was the crowd there, and the crowd was making noise. People were, talking and chattering. Some people were trying to shout at the ghost again. But the ghost had been doing the same thing, and Ollie had seen enough. So he wandered over to that side of the block and looked. Looked at the stores over there. There's the bookshop. There's a cookie store. Then there was the bank. Well, credit union. So I looked carefully in the credit union. He saw a dark shadow passing along the back. The lights were off. It was hard to see, but something or someone had darted by. Well, I thought that was strange. So Ollie went around to the back side of the bank. And that's when he saw it. He saw a group of 5 people, all in masks, all in all dark camouflage clothing. And they were loading big duffel bags into a van. I said, whoa, there's a robbery happening here. And they're almost done. Ollie climbed around and looked, trying to be as sneaky as he could. And yeah, they had like 5 more duffel bags to load, and then they were going to be done. There was no time to call the police. I mean, he would call, but if he let them go, they'd be gone. I looked around. There was one person keeping watch. But the person wasn't really looking up. And they'd pulled the van in really close to this awning of our loading dock. And the person standing watch wasn't looking that direction. They were looking out toward the alley. So Ollie climbed up as fast as he could. He climbed over and around, trying to be as quick as possible to where he's in the line of the sight of the person standing guard. And then he climbed down very carefully, very quietly onto the van. This part was a little bit risky because he was pretty sure when that person standing watch turned around, he would have seen Ollie on the top of the van. The other people were still loading. Ollie wasn't sure if there was a driver or not. The driver was just sitting in the van. Ollie looked, and he came up with an idea. He wanted to get underneath the van to where he wouldn't be seen. But he looked, and the side of the van didn't have windows. So, as quickly as he could do quietly, he slipped along down the side of the van and around to the bottom of the van. He crept around down there until he found a spot that he was pretty confident he could hold on to easily and it wouldn't get hot. Well, he had done this kind of thing before, so he'd gotten pretty good at finding those spots. And a few minutes later, he heard the people climbing in. He saw the feet of the watchman, or the person standing watch, that is to say, trot over and get into the passenger seat. He heard doors shut and the engine fired up. As they started to pull away, Ollie climbed out from under and sat on the back bumper. He took a photo of the license plate and started sending text messages to his friends in the police. As they drove, Ollie kept on updating with the location. And a detective friend of his took over the main communication and asked Ollie to just hang tight, that they were tracking him, and that he should let them know when the van stops. Well, they drove maybe a mile, maybe a mile and a half, Ollie holding onto the back bumper, and then they pulled into a driveway. Ollie very quickly scrambled down and got into the wheel well. It was a little bit dangerous to be in the wheel well if they started moving again, but he wasn't sure he could get to a safe, cool spot underneath the bottom of the van fast enough, because pretty much as soon as they stopped, the doors started opening and people started coming and unloading. So as quiet as he could, I sent the text message, said, "They're unloading. Not sure where I am, but you can maybe track my phone for location." The message came back, "We got you. We'll be there in 5. So I just sat tight. You kind of watched them. They loaded the bags into the house that they had stopped at. It wasn't a nice house, but it wasn't a terrible house. Just kind of in an inconspicuous neighborhood. And since they'd left the bank, all the robbers had changed out of their dark clothes and were just wearing normal street clothes again. Other than the fact that they were carrying these big duffel bags, there wasn't anything really suspicious about them. Well, about 5 minutes later, the police all arrived. They'd followed the signal of his phone and tracked him. They surrounded the house and kicked in the door. And the robbers were all very surprised. They thought they'd gotten away with it. Because they're surprised, they weren't ready. They didn't put up a fight. They just surrendered. At that point, Ollie came out from underneath the car, determined to help out, see what he could figure out. The police had all the robbers sat down there on the driveway while they were filling out paperwork and figuring stuff out and counting the bags and all that jazz. And I walked up. Excuse me. One that seemed to be in charge. He said, "Lucky for you about the ghost." I said, "The ghost?" I said, "Yeah." Everybody was paying attention to the ghost. The guy said, "Man, there's no ghost." I said, "What do you mean?" "The light show. It's part of the idea. The whole thing was ours. I can't believe we wasted all that money on that laser projector just to get caught by a stupid octopus." I said, hey, I'm an octopus, but I ain't stupid, as you just learned. "What do you mean you wasted a lot of money on a light show?" I let out a big sigh. Go over to the roof of the building that the bank is in. You're going to find a set of laser projectors there on top of the roof. The ghost is a hologram. Ain't no ghost. It's just a light show. And it was working perfectly. We left it there so that everybody would get distracted over there, and while everyone was staring at the ghost, we robbed the bank blind. Supposed to, anyway. Except for some snooping octopus. I said, all right. You're mad at me. That's fair. But you're the one who robbed the bank. And that was the case of Ollie and the ghost unicorn.